Welcome to Impressive Interviewing. We'll help you understand the dynamics of the interview, how to prepare for the interview, and how to be the most impressive candidate who stays in the process until you get hired. We'll talk about how you can make a great first impression, how to connect with the interviewer. We'll cover a number of topics such as phone interviews, making a great lasting impression, Facebook, thank yous. Let's get started. The interview is a very complex process, and every nuance of your body language, as well as every word that you say, may make the difference between staying in the process or being eliminated after your first conversation. For instance, it's important to know what to wear, how to shake hands, the importance of smiling, following the lead of the interviewer, closing with a confident, positive tone, and following up with a thank you letter and another statement of why you are the best candidate for the position. To start with, let's talk about scheduling interviews. An opportunity for an interview might be a phone call from a recruiter or a request to call someone and schedule an interview. It's always preferable to give the choice of time and date to the interviewer because you're always trying to meet their most convenient needs. And if they ask you to come at a certain time, do your best to be available. You can always reschedule a dentist appointment, and if you seem difficult to schedule with and unsure, it may leave an impression with the interviewer or HR person that they should accommodate you, and that's not in your favor. Another area that is very important is what to wear to the interview and to every other meeting with the hiring manager or company, because every time you talk with someone in person, you're making another impression. So always make the best choice for each situation, and err on the side of being overdressed rather than too casual. I talked with a hiring manager recently who told me that he had a candidate in mind who was his top choice, and he was ready to hire her. They invited her back for one more interview, and she didn't bother to dress up, and she didn't get hired. Don't take anything for granted. Let's talk about what it means to dress to impress. For men, you should choose a conservative suit, dark in color. A small pinstripe is okay. Choose a well-pressed white or light color shirt with no button collars, and a conservative tie. Basically the same thing for women. Choose a tailored suit or jacket with skirt or pants that match in conservative dark colors. Your blouse or shirt should be white or light in color, and you shouldn't wear sandals, high heels, or anything that's too trendy. Although it's important to dress to impress and to make conservative choices, your industry may dictate a certain dress code that may make sense for your situation. For instance, an ad agency known for its casual atmosphere probably doesn't expect the same conservative attire that a bank would expect. However, always err on the side of being conservative. Dress so they don't remember what you wore. That's an unusual statement. We usually want to dress so that people will notice us. However, at the interview, we want you to make such great choices that it becomes a non-issue about what you were wearing because it was just right. Here's some reminders. Get a haircut. Short hair always fares best in interviews for men, and it's great to have a newly cut and styled haircut for women. Tasteful jewelry that doesn't detract is okay. No visible body piercing. For men specifically, no rings other than wedding ring or college ring. No earrings. If you normally wear one, take it out. For women, no more than one ring on each hand. One set of earrings only. No perfume or aftershave. A lot of people have allergies, so it's best just not to use that. Make sure your hands are neatly manicured and soft. If you wear nail polish, use clear or a very conservative color. And keep your makeup simple and natural. It shouldn't be noticeable. And then carry a portfolio instead of a purse to look more professional. You never know when your first impression might happen when you arrive at the interview, so smile. You might be on camera from the time you get out of your car in the parking lot until you drive away. Always be your professional best and be courteous to everyone you meet along the way. Arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early so you have time to relax and quiet your mind. Before you leave your car, take anything jingly or bulging out of your pockets, turn your cell phone off, and leave it in the car. It's essential that you're not distracted when the interviewer walks over for your first greeting and handshake. Don't let your cell phone tempt you while waiting. Announce your presence and don't get involved in a conversation with the receptionist. Carry a letter-sized portfolio and a pen or small briefcase. Women should avoid purses when possible. Pop a breath mint. Show patience if delayed, and smile. You need to be aware that there are two kinds of interviewers. The professional interviewer is typically the HR representative or the recruiter, and the amateur interviewer is generally the hiring manager themselves. So let's look at how they approach the interview very differently. Generally, the first interview, either by phone or in person, is with the professional interviewer, the HR person or recruiter, and their sole purpose is to eliminate you. They're responsible for taking the qualifications for the position and finding 3 to 5 people who fit the description and are worthy of talking with the hiring manager. They generally have been trained to interview and have a set process. They do all of the legwork for the hiring manager, which includes the initial screening of resumes, performing phone interviews, and sometimes in-person interviews, and narrowing down the field to the most qualified candidates who will be brought in to talk to the hiring manager. They usually do not make the hiring decision, but may guide the hiring manager in their decision process, so they're very important. The amateur, the hiring manager, is very good at running a department or a company and may not be so good at interviewing. You may find that they're not as polished, and the interview may be less structured, more subjective, and definitely focused on deciding whether they like you or not. When we think of a dynamite interview, we think of one word: confidence. And consider the fact that this is a sales opportunity, and you're the salesperson as well as the product. Everything that you do and say should be about putting your product, yourself, in your best light. Your personal appearance speaks volumes before you ever utter a word. Your sharp professional look sends the message that you will be professional on the job as well. Knowledge of how their needs and your talents fit together seamlessly is going to help them imagine you in the job. Truly believe that you are the best person for the job, and that's how you'll show up. It's amazing how our thinking drives our actions. You need to be the expert on you, positive and confident. As the interviewer is walking towards you, their mind is already making an impression of you. We want you to elicit a positive response in their mind that causes them to think, nice, sharp, impressive, or very professional. Wow, better than I even thought. This particular quote really plays true in the interview situation. There are no second acts in American lives. You'll have about 30 seconds to make that initial great impression. You must be prepared. Consider the fact that as you meet the interviewer, you have every reason to be happy. You've differentiated yourself from other candidates because you're here in person. Now, everything you share with the interviewer must be positive. It's your chance to truly shine, and guess what? People want to be around happy people. So enjoy yourself. Make the interview a great experience. We've talked over and over about being confident. Diligence in completing your pre-work gives you every reason to be confident. You've worked hard, and the results will be evident. You know more about the company and yourself than other candidates. You're totally prepared. It feels great to be so confident, just like when you walked into that final exam and knew that you were going to ace it. It's okay to be excited, too. This could be your potential employer, and you've been waiting for this day to come. You're going to have a great meeting, a great connection, and leave with a sense that you did your best. Sear a perfect image into their minds when they first meet you. It's what they'll remember when they're sorting out who they liked and who they plan to eliminate. A lot has been said and written about the power of assumptions that are driven by perceptions. At the interview, they're especially important. Everything that you say and do will send a message to the interviewer, good or bad. Their perceptions unconsciously become their assumptions. Whatever their first impression is, they'll look for more data to confirm that impression. The truth about interviewing is that most interviews last only about 5 minutes. Yes, the actual interview always takes longer than that, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour. But the interview is usually over in 5 minutes or less. If you haven't convinced the interviewer by the 5-minute point that you're the right person for the job, it can be next to impossible to recover. Recoveries do happen, but they're very rare. In the first 5 minutes of the interviewer will have noted your appearance, your grooming, your handshake, your personal presence, your eye contact, your articulation, and most important, your personality. Notice that I didn't mention anything about your degree, work experience, or skills. Your competencies actually take second place during the first part of the interview when the interviewer is forming an impression of who you are and whether you fit what they're looking for. It's your interpersonal connection with the hiring manager that will take you to the next level. The truth is that most interviewers highly rate individuals who are able to present themselves well in a face-to-face interview. They're seeking to hire someone who is a good reflection on their decision-making and who will make them look good. If they initially like you, they'll look for more data to confirm that impression. If they don't like you, upon first impression, they will start to look for reasons to eliminate you. Remember, your actions will speak louder than your words. The interviewer is going to be paying attention to how you speak and your body language from that first handshake. They're watching every nuance of your body language for clues as to who you are and whether you fit into the image they have in mind for the person they want to hire. All of your words and body language must convey this message. It is truly a pleasure to meet you. Let the interviewer know how pleased you are to meet them and that there is nowhere else you would rather be. Convey that in a polite, professional, and confident way. Whether you are fresh out of college and newly interviewing or have many years of experience, it's good to think about how to introduce yourself properly to make that great first impression. Your handshake is your first encounter with the interviewer, and it has to send the right message. If the interviewer holds out her hand and receives a limp, damp hand in return, it's not a very good beginning. Your handshake should be firm, not crushing, and your hand should be dry and warm. If your hands tend to be cold, arrive a little early, go to the restroom, and run warm water over your hands. As you see the interviewer walking towards you, stand up with great posture, take a deep breath, and relax. And make great eye contact. But most importantly of all, smile. It shows your perfect, positive frame of mind. The interviewer makes the first introduction and may reach out his or her hand. You then extend your hand and provide a firm handshake. Give your introduction. Mr. Smith, I'm Dan Brown. It's a pleasure to meet you. From the very start, the interviewer is analyzing you in reference to the company culture. Would you fit in? Would you represent the company well? Would others believe they made a good selection by hiring you? So the small talk is actually big talk, since it will greatly affect how you are perceived in the eyes of the interviewer. It's not necessarily the words you say, but how you say them. And look for opportunities to connect. Accept anything that's offered, such as coffee. Accept it because chances are they might like a cup of coffee. You can always sip it and leave it on the desk if you're not a coffee drinker. When you arrive at their office, look for visual clues or commonalities that you might be able to relate to. Perhaps a family picture on vacation at a tropical location. You just got back from Hawaii. Or sports memorabilia. Maybe they're a baseball fan. Maybe even root for the same team. Anything that makes the conversation personal and brings a warm, relaxed, friendly tone to the start of the interview is to your advantage. Or if they start the ice-breaking conversation around something personal, be sure to engage in that conversation. They're trying to set you at ease before they start the interview. You've gotten past the first ice-breaking conversation. They now start engaging you in the interview. The first question they ask may be, so tell me about yourself. This is where you step up with your elevator speech and set the tone by your positive, confident response. Hopefully, you've practiced all of your answers to the common interview questions, your success stories, why you want to work for the company, and why they should hire you. We're not going to cover those questions again here. Just know that everything that you've done to prepare will be to your advantage when you're sitting in front of the interviewer or the interview panel. It will be your time to impressively respond, and what that takes is practice before the interview. What does the interview look like as you're making that great connection with the hiring manager? First, relax and do what you do best. Just be yourself. Vary the tone of your voice so that you can draw their interest and make a warm connection through great eye contact. We're all taught to be humble. However, the interview is not a place to practice it. They're only going to know what you tell them. Take advantage of the opportunity. Focus on their need to know you, your strengths, your abilities, your successes. Every word counts when you have such a limited time to sell yourself and impress them. And don't joke or use dry humor. It could backfire because they don't know the real you. I recently spoke to a recruiter for a major organization who said that few candidates really come prepared to interviews, so that the ones who do definitely stand out from the competition. So keep in mind when answering questions that you want to leave them with a sense that you truly have it all together, that you are much more prepared than other candidates, and that you would bring these same behaviors to the workplace. Another interview tip is to come ready with great questions. Nothing impresses hiring managers more than a really good question that not only shows you've researched the company in general, but also the specific job you're hoping to land. This will be another advantage over other candidates who may only focus on what job interview questions they'll be asked and what answers they should give. So have at least one or two good interview questions to ask, because if you don't have any, your interviewers may have one of the following negative thoughts. That you think you know everything about the company already when they know you don't, or that you're not serious about choosing the right job since you'll accept the position without asking any questions of it. So always have at least one good question to ask your interviewer. And don't ask too many questions either. Make sure that they don't feel like you're hijacking the control of the interview. We'll also give you some tips about what questions not to ask a little later. Let's review some sample questions to get your ideas flowing. What would you consider to be the most important aspects of this position? Or, could you please describe a typical day in this position? A couple of other good questions. What are the skills and attributes you value most for someone being hired for this position? If I was hired for this position, how could I help you be successful? There are other examples of questions to ask within the resource documents. I mentioned earlier that there's questions you shouldn't ask. Don't inquire about salary, vacations, bonuses, retirement, work hours, or other benefits until after you've received an offer. These questions are too focused on your needs, and there will be plenty of time after you've received the job offer to get these answers. Remember that there are two distinct phases in getting a job. Phase 1, you need to get the offer, and Phase 2, you evaluate the offer. Let's talk about those in more specifics. Remember that before you get the offer, there's nothing wrong with the job and nothing you can't or won't do. You need to stay open, be positive, and keep the conversation in the mode of what you can do for the company and what their needs are. At this point, it's all about what they need and want and how you can deliver. Once you get the offer, it's time to evaluate the offer. Additionally, you get to ask all of the questions that have been on your mind. What's in it for you? What is the company culture like? What are the benefits? What are the working hours? It opens the door to those kind of questions at that point. At the end of the interview, you need to make a lasting impression. Express your gratitude to the interviewer for the opportunity you've been given, no matter how the interview went. Do close the interview by telling the interviewer that you're interested in the position and that you're confident in your ability to perform the responsibilities and make a contribution. Be sure to ask for their business cards so you have correct spelling and contact information for thank yous and follow-up. Also, ask about the next step in the process. What will happen when? When might you hear from them? When is a decision expected to be made? Confidently and firmly shake their hand, have great eye contact and a pleasant smile, and then tell them that you'll look forward to hearing from them soon. Right after your interview, when it's fresh in your mind, take time to jot down key points. What you think went well, and what you would do differently next time. For instance, what the interviewer seemed to like best about you to reinforce next time, or anything you personally said that the interviewer didn't seem to like that you could perhaps convey more positively. Or any personal sharing by the interviewer, such as a vacation, children's activities, or anything that you could key back into at a later time if you get that opportunity for a second conversation. Many companies use phone interviews as an initial employment screening technique for a variety of reasons. Because they're generally brief, phone interviews save companies time. They also serve as a more realistic screening alternative for cases in which companies are considering out-of-town candidates. So the chances are pretty good that at some point in your job hunt, you'll be asked to participate in a 20 to 30-minute phone interview with either one person or several people. In many ways, the way you prepare for a phone interview isn't all that different from the way you'd get ready for a face-to-face interview, save for a few slight additions to and modifications of your list of preparation tasks. Treat the phone interview seriously, just as you would a face-to-face interview. Have your resume and cover letter in front of you. Make a cheat sheet, have your elevator speech, and other answers right there in front of you. Use a high-quality phone, and we'd suggest that you shower, groom, and dress up, at least a little bit. It'll make you feel more professional. And also, stand up or at least sit up straight at a table or desk, because your voice projects much differently from that position. Something else we wanted to talk to you about is your current email address and voicemail. They may actually be the first impressions that the potential employer will have of you. Does yours send the message that you're a professional who is serious about their job search and making an impression as a responsible person? Make sure that whatever email address you use represents the professional you. In addition, you need to update your voicemail message to be professional. You're asking a potential employer to see you as responsible, and that's the image you need to portray in your voice message. It can be very simple. Hi, this is Mike Brown. Please leave me a message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. And be sure to speak clearly. This would also be a good time to review your settings on Facebook because there's some controversy about employers getting access to potential employees' Facebook pages. So just to make sure, go to Account Settings, Privacy, and change your setting to preferably Friends or Friends of Friends. Another business tool that comes in handy when networking is a simple professional business card. You can have these printed online, go to your local copy store, or make them and print them at home using a kit such as Avery, which will provide you a template as well as a packet of business cards that you can feed through your printer that are already pre-cut. It's just one more way to show that you are professional. Always send thank you notes to everyone you meet, whether you want the job or not. You never know when your paths may cross again. Handwritten notes are preferable. However, email notes that are personable work also. Be sure to spell the person's name correctly. Use positive, confident language about how you want the job and what you could do to help them be successful. Always show your enthusiasm and interest in your words, and be sure to send out your thank you notes within 24 hours of the interaction or interview. You just received the phone call, and they asked you if you would like to work for them. This is exciting, and if you want to work for them, it's a pretty easy answer. Yes, and when do you want me to start? After you accept verbally, they generally will send you a written employment offer and benefits package that you'll review prior to formally accepting their offer. However, if the offer's not exactly what you're looking for, you can say something like, I'm thrilled about the offer, and we'll get back to you tomorrow. Then you can come up with a strategy of how to negotiate and call them back. If you've decided that it isn't the right company or position, you should simply say, thank you, and it's not what I'm looking for at this time. There will be times when you haven't heard back from a company after you have interviewed. We suggest that you follow up to get closure, either one way or the other. Sometimes there has been a delay due to circumstances beyond the control of the interviewer, so they may give you an update of what's happening and when they will go to the next steps. Always express your interest in the job, be courteous, and tell them you will be waiting for their call. If you're not chosen, thank them and ask for referrals. This is a key thing. They've gotten to know you, and if you got in for the interview, they thought you had impressive competencies. Chances are they would be happy to consider referring you to someone in their network. You just need to ask. In summary, the interview is a dynamic, fast-moving conversation, and you only have a short period of time to make the best impression through your words and actions so that you are the one who's chosen. All of your preparation and practice will help you to be polished and confident when you get to that real interview.